I don't see the screen.
Yeah, I don't either. Dun, dun, dun.
Da, da, da.
There we are.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
Here we go.
Did you miss the memo that the world of business as we know it is over? You just might be a beached whale company.
Now is author Daren Martin.
Culture is the game. If you don't change the culture, you don't change the company.
Great cultures over the course of 10 years will yield a 746% increase in your net profit.
Holy moly!
1% in the top 1% is worth 12 in the bottom 1%. Called the culture architect for a reason.
We need to get into it.
Okay.
Welcome to Company Culture with Daren Martin.
Woo! And Elise Martin.
And the great Elise Martin. So, I wrote a book a couple of years ago or a year ago. I
had no idea. What was it called?
Yeah, I've written several books. Got a bunch more on the way, but we're not actually talking about the book today, but I do want to go through the book. That sounds weird.
The whole book?
Yes, I'm gonna read it. We have never done this on the show
page?
before. I'm gonna read it from beginning to end.
We don't have enough time.
Is the way the show's going to go down. No, so I've been in and out of all sorts of companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 200, actually some Fortune 100 companies as well, quite a few of them actually. And born out of that experience, you kind of see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I just was facing so much bureaucracy, so much just, junk that was going on at various companies. And so it sparked this idea of the whole beached whale company. And I don't know, for some reason, I think I've read this at one point on stage.
What is it?
It says, Peter Godwa, co-founder of Ticketmaster, said, upon putting Ticketron out of business. Do you remember Ticketron?
I have never heard of Ticketron.
Okay, they were before Ticketmaster. And he said this, I felt more like we had stumbled upon a beached whale that had already died than defeated a fierce enemy in battle. And then I go on to give the quote, at some time in the life cycle of virtually every organization, its ability to succeed in spite of itself runs out. Which
right,
is
they go up
Breyer's
through the curve,
first law.
and then some point you start going down. You either take control and make it go back up, or you just let ride that hill, right?
All the way down.
That boulder, it's that push that boulder to the top and watch it roll to the bottom, or keep pushing.
How many companies have you seen do that? Give me some companies that used to be big and then now they're gone.
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster.
Toys R Us.
Okay, that's recent. Toys R Us, you've got Sears Roebuck, although they're still in business, but they are a mere shadow of themselves. You've got,
Sears is a sad
example like Kmart, right, et cetera. So
and you've got all the other ones that are going there. They have to change to keep up with the times. We got American Eagle that closed their shops in Dallas, and then you've got.
I thought you were talking about the American Eagle, like the airline that's part of American Airlines, and I was going, wait a minute, baby, no,
like
they're not.
All those closings. So like BB used to be one of my favorite stores.
All these retail, right?
They closed all their shops. They went totally online, but it was smart of them to not continue putting out that revenue for the store in the mall, right? When they can concentrate on online, which is where their sales are, and change for the times instead of becoming a beached whale.
And of course, the excuse that everybody gives is who put them out of business?
Who put who out of business?
All of those companies we're talking about.
The millennials?
The great Amazon. Amazon put us out of business.
Not for clothing.
No, it's because you didn't really,
clothing.
You didn't reinvent
Makeup,
yourself. You didn't create an experience, et cetera. So because I talk about this, and I think it's funny, and sometimes people think it's funny, but so let me define kind of what a beached whale company is. Would you like for me to define what a beached whale company is?
Define it, Dan.
Okay, I'm going to define it. So a beached whale company is a company that is huge. Maybe they have a lot of employees. Maybe they have a ton of locations around the world or whatever. Or it actually could be a small company. It doesn't have to just be a big company. But it's a company where they're sitting on a sand yeah, writing their success 10 years ago. And then all of a sudden, here they are, and they're struggling, and they don't know it, right? So if you've ever seen a whale in the ocean, it's a beautiful sight, but you put that same whale up on a beach, it's not cool. So by the way, the subtitle of the book is Learning to Swim in the New Ocean.
And then by new ocean, we mean the new world of business.
Absolutely the new world of business. Sorry,
Because
I'm trying to turn
business
my
has changed. It's
microphone
totally
up here.
changed, right? It's not like it was in the 50s. It's not like it was in the 70s. It's not like it was in the 90s.
Hey, the
it's
stuff-
not like it was before the internet. It's not like it was before social media, right? Before
And all of those things that people do don't apply for the most part. I mean, there's some, look, there's some things that are kind of last down through time, like customer service, treating people well.
But those are the things that are going to last beyond AI, right?
Yes.
The customer experience is the one thing, that human touch is the one thing we have left that AI can't take over. AI can take over accounting. AI can take over your management. AI can make sure those phone calls are answered. AI can answer your customer service calls, but AI cannot touch that client, like not physically touch them, but
Yes, that would be
emotionally touch
inappropriate.
them in a sense of
Your stock
making
price
that
would probably
person
drop
feel-
as a result of that.
right.
Okay, but until the singularity happens, and then that's all bets are off when computers start feeling and so forth. So, anyway, let's not get off on that. But
Let's not get too far.
the first indicator that you're a beached whale company. So basically, what I do in the book is I break down beached, unbeached, and I
Okay.
just want to go through some of those today.
All right, what's the first
See
beached
if you
whale
recognize
indicator?
these. See if these fit your company.
Give us the first indicator.
If we go through 10 of them and you're 10 for 10, then you just might be a beached whale
you
company.
need to take a walk around. Walk
Yeah.
through. Have a look.
So if there is a Dilbert cartoon on every cubicle, as I always say, they're trying to tell you something. And, Dilbert, God bless Scott Adams, it's so genius because he just tapped into people's frustration with work and what they were experiencing on a regular basis. And he just wrote cartoons about it. But
Right.
when you walk around a company, as I've done many, many times, walking
Right.
around, companies I'm working for, consulting with, and you see a Dilbert cartoons everywhere, they're trying to tell you something.
Right.
So that's the first indicator. Now, I said this recently at a conference, and a millennial said, no, it's the fact that you said there's a Dilbert cartoon on cubicles, like the fact that you have cubicles. I'm like,
That's
whoa.
true. I mean, now we have like little wall partitions, but they're not cubicles, right? They come up to the desk. So you can see your fellow, workmate, but you don't have a wall blocking you like a little box.
Definitely the way we do space is changing. There's a lot of that going on.
But there's so much stuff that shows that the environment they're working in really has an impact on their culture. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So that's why we're trying to do away with cubicles. So if you have a cubicle
That might be part of the problem.
and you have yellow light that's kind of dim, and when you go to work, you feel like you're in a dungeon, you're probably not where you want to be.
I love it. So if you have that experience, and what you want to do is you want to de-Dilbert, as I say, walk around, have conversations with people. What are you trying to say? What is this? What does this say about our company? How can we learn from this? What can we do different?
But
et
in a
cetera?
non-aggressive way. Don't say,
Non-aggressive.
what are you trying to say?
Why
How
do
does
you
this
have
say
this
about our company?
cartoon
What
up
are you
here?
trying to imply about our company? No, be like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. But what does it mean, like, to you? Tell me. I'm curious. How can we change that? Is it something? Is it your manager? Is it your team? Is it?
I'm going to walk in one day, and there's going to be beach whale cartoons all over your desk at our
Or
condo. That'll be
unbeached
fun.
whale cartoons?
Unbeached whale. So beached, a house divided against itself. So there's the old, house divided against itself cannot stand. By the way, when you say, hey, how are you doing? And they say, living the dream. Is that a happy person or an unhappy person?
I always
typically?
thought when people said living the dream, I thought they were actually living the dream.
No, that's because you live in a little dream world, right?
I live in a bubble.
Yes. So, okay, here's some phrases. When you start hearing these at work, you know that it's a house divided against
Okay,
itself.
let's hear 'em.
Stepping on toes. Choose your battles. That one always drives me crazy. Like, well, you just need to choose your battles.
I have heard that so many times.
Of course, and it's when people are saying, "Oh no, this thing is too just controversial
it's
to
coming.
touch."
It's more like no. That one is right, but also when I say no, I mean like also as well. It's like when you're in the bathroom and you're saying, did you apply for that job? No, I didn't. I was too scared. You know, my coworker applied, and I'm afraid that she's going to get offended because I applied. You say, why didn't you apply? And she said, I didn't want to step on her toes. I wanted to choose my battles. You know, she's better than me. I'm like, why didn't you just go and do it? Just do it.
Yeah, because what happens is you end up leaving a lot of stuff on the table
It's not
that
just
should
that.
be done if the company's going to be great.
Right. And
But instead they settle into mediocrity, right?
Right. And it's not just that. It's that companies want people who step up to the plate. And if you're slinking away because you want to choose your battles, well,
We have a problem.
we have a
Houston,
problem.
we have
Let's
a problem.
take the person that stepped up to the plate and get rid of the person who slinked off.
I totally agree. So here's some more real quick. Don't
Okay.
buck the system. Do you want to die on that hill? Like,
Ugh.
ooh, this is sounding so violent.
Do they have hills in
The
Memphis, though?
powers that be. I love that one.
Ooh.
Well, the powers that be decided that. What
That sounds like a customer service call. I would love to refund you for that.
but I can't. The powers
But the
that
powers
be.
that be have decided that according to Regulation C-9, that we cannot issue a refund even though it was our fault.
Dead in the water. Don't rock the boat.
The people that say the powers that be, their company is dead in the water.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've talked, I think, on the show before, but pronoun peril, I call it when people talk about
That's
the,
a major
the,
one.
them.
A major
right?
one. A major one.
The IT department instead of our IT department. And you play like
Mm-hmm.
the company is divided into these little sections and somehow they're not interdependent on each
And
other.
I feel like a lot of times it's like that phone call that comes in, and I've done this because I'm a receptionist, but I haven't done the opposite version, where people call in, they're like, that IT person got on the phone, they said, blah, blah, blah. Now, a lot of people, to distance themselves from the problem with the IT department, they say, the IT department, blah, blah, blah. Oh, let me look into that. Instead of saying, oh my goodness, did our IT department do that? Let me help you there.
are being
Right?
the operative word.
Meaning, like, you are not personal. I want to say not personally, but you can't take it as a personal attack when somebody attacks the IT department.
Absolutely.
You're part of that company. You're not going to risk not having a job because you said our IT department. When you work for that company, it is our IT department, right?
Yeah, it's a
and
team,
when you don't
right?
work there
Everybody's-
anymore, you can say their IT department.
It's
But
like the offense or the defense complaining about the other side on a football team.
nobody
like, well,
likes
our defense didn't
nobody
play
likes
well.
someone who, when you meet them, they complain about their boss.
Yes.
And they say, "Oh yeah, I love working for M&M, Coca-Cola, whatever, and my boss is awful. Their culture is disgusting." I don't respect you, right? You don't respect someone that does that. You respect the people that say, "I love where I work. You know, we have some problems. We're working on them," but you don't say, "Oh my God, it's awful. That's
Okay.
not my problem."
So what about this one? And this is so cleverly written.
Because you cleverly wrote it.
I did. I think I may have gotten this from somebody else. I'm trying to remember. But beach, B-E-A-C-H, get it? About, beach about, get it? Because the book's called Beach About. Okay. Beach about not being able to get, quote, these kids to work.
Ooh.
It's that whole millennial hating thing.
Beach
So,
about.
and I'm actually going to read
Oh.
this page just for fun. So, you're right. Big bold letters. Today's emerging workforce do not want to keep their heads down and plug along working for the man, in quotes, until they put their 20 years and maybe make partner. They're much smarter than that.
Amen.
They're also not keen on working tedious 60-hour weeks. And yes, you are
Hallelujah.
right. Many millennials would like to advance and be given authority in very short order. When you groan about the good old days and bemoan how lazy the current workforce is, you exacerbate the problem and miss the supreme opportunities that are present with this new generation.
Absolutely. So, and we met a man at a conference. I can't remember. He made spices or something. And you said, how's it going? And he ran his own business and he's doing really well. And then you asked him, how's it going? And he said, oh, those millennials.
I hate
those millennials. But the millennials are the current updated workforce, and they're the future customers. Right?
Well, and they are
are
in part
growing.
creating the
Right.
new ocean.
Right.
Okay, so all the millennial hating, and I don't know if I've. No, I'm going to save that. Actually, it's going to be my Martin Eyes. Never
Okay.
mind. But there's
to
all
wait.
sorts of videos and posts and people going, the millennials, and here's what their problem is, and so on and so forth. They can be some of the hardest working people
Right.
in show business.
But at least they're the hardest working. When you think of the 60s rate and the 70s, none of those were in the hardest
That's, I mean, that's the
hippies.
irony, right?
I'm not talking about all the people in the 60s, but I'm talking about the hippies. They weren't the hardest working.
There was a lot of dropping out.
I mean, maybe the millennials are the hippie generation of our time, but we're technologically advanced.
There were a lot of people saying
we just want to be empowered. If you give us a if the bacon attracts the dog, so to speak, right? Then
that is the
dog
second
will
time
run.
you've issued that elitism.
Well, I made it up. I mean, we've got Tucker, and bacon is the only thing that makes him come potty where he's supposed to. So
where is Tucker? Why is he not in studio? Okay, here's another one. You ready?
He's having his afternoon 3-hour nap.
Are you ready? Beached?
I'm ready. Beached.
Drag Kings.
What does that mean?
I just thought it was a clever title. You know, instead of drag queens, it's drag kings. Beached companies are slow. They think slow, they move slowly, and they're slow to act on new ideas.
We see this with a lot of large companies where we hear from employees right at the bar or somewhere, and they say, oh, it's so great that you get to post that great idea and push the initiative forward so soon. It takes me 3 months to get a social media post approved. 3 months. Now, by the time you approve a social media post in 3 months,
its dead in the water.
Relativity is gone. We know in social media that if you want to jump on a trend, you need to jump on it right away, and that can't wait. We can't waste time on it. And big companies are slagging along, right?
Right.
Because they have so much bureaucracy. There's so many layers of
red tape.
approval.
You got to go through legal. You got to go blah 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 blah. So there's actually, I'm finally reading the great Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jib Jab Jab Jib.
Jib jab jab jib jib jib.
Yeah, punch it.
But he said that great thing. The reason for his success is that he marketed in the
year that he's doing business.
Exactly.
Okay, but he tells a great story. I don't think I told you about this, but Super Bowl. I don't remember what year. I don't even remember who was playing, but this Super Bowl, and there was like I think it was in San Francisco actually, and all of the lights went out. The electricity went off for like 20 minutes. I mean, this is, being watched by billions of people all over the world, right? And so Oreo was actually one of the sponsors and so forth, but they brilliantly jumped on it and a little bit later posted an Oreo sitting in the dark, and it said something like, I don't remember, waiting for the lights to come on. There's no reason you can't dip your Oreo in the dark, right? They didn't say go buy Oreos. They didn't say, they just did this organic post about something that was happening.
Yeah, exactly.
There's actually a story I heard years ago about Kodak, talk about a company that beached whale, right, struggled. So Kodak, though, back when they were trying to save it, they wanted to name the new camera.
Right.
And so they were coming up with all these things, and the people that in the marketing department or within Kodak wanted to call it the Z477293 or something crappy like that. And it was kind of
reminding me of the name of a conference that we were doing a long time ago.
Yeah.
Where it was like 17 letters and 2 numbers.
Very complicated.
That's the name.
So at any rate, Kodak, the CEO said, look, we got this new thing called social media, and we should do a contest, and we should tweet out and have people name it. And if you name it, then you get to have your picture on the box or something. I mean, it was just clever. Let's do this. No, can't do it. First, it has to go through legal. And he was like, look, there's no time. Well, we could get fined. If we don't do this right, we could get fined. Blah, 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 blah. So finally he says, forget it. I'm just going to do it. So he just did it.
Yep.
He put it out there. They had more hits to their website by like 300% than they'd ever had.
Right.
It was a runaway success.
Did you get in trouble?
They came up with a great name, right? And it just won all of this goodwill for Kodak. Yes, he got in some very serious trouble because after it came out and after the name and after the whole contest, then the fine finally came through, $350.
Oh.
Okay, so here's this slow, it's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
One of the most successful campaigns we've ever run.
Most successful campaign, there might be a fine of $350.
Yeah, I mean, just the ridiculousness of that. So, okay, you want another one?
I want another one.
Reject new ideas and thinking. That's not the way we do it around
Old
here.
manism.
This isn't, yeah, that's a thank you for
manism.
rolling that out. That's actually a little phrase that I think I came up with. I know I came up with it. It's in the book, but I think it's actually, here's a big one.
What is it?
Value hard work and long hours.
It's so common, so prevalent.
How many
People
companies
saying,
have you been at where people watch the door? Who gets there first? Who gets there
leaves
last?
first? Who comes in last? Right?
You're going to get the promotion because you were
Instead of thinking
here.
about who's producing the most outcome, right? Like, if you finish your job and you did it great and you're done at noon, why do you have to sit there and wait to be the last person to leave so you don't get your head chopped off?
I think Tim Ferriss talks about this in his book, The 4-Hour Work Week, because he had a job that would take 8 hours to do, and it was tedious and boring. And then he figured out how to do it in 2. Mm-hmm. But instead of being rewarded and do it well in 2, instead of being rewarded, he was penalized. I think he got fired or something crazy like that. And
Really?
they're like, well, no, you've got to do this
crazy.
in the 8
That's
hours
crazy.
allocated. Ridiculous, right?
Yeah, I've worked at companies where you have nothing to do at all, and they're just happy to pay you for another 5 hours doing nothing.
Trying to figure out if I should say this or not, but yeah, you were at a company that Friday afternoons were super slow.
Yes.
And yet y'all just had to sit there.
Well, sometimes we got off early, but the problem is the other Fridays afternoons were just as slow, but we couldn't get off early because our boss didn't want to appear that he was being too lenient and letting us off sooner than we should.
Yes.
Because he doesn't want us to get used to the fact that we could have like Friday afternoons off. Like, if you get used to it, then when I need you, you won't want to be here. It's the opposite. If you let us out every Friday afternoon and you say one Friday it's really busy, hey, can you stay? Absolutely. We're already getting paid for it. We're all salaried anyways.
You know this, E. I tell people I pay for outcomes, not activity. I don't pay for how many hours you worked on it. I pay for what came out of it, right?
What came out of it?
Yeah,
what?
absolutely.
Did you check up?
Okay, so you know where we're going with this one.
Where are we going?
Broken.
I think we have a video for that.
Yeah, let's watch the video instead of talking about it.
All right.
Hello. You want to know another indicator you're a beast well company?
Yes.
If everything in the office is broken, key pieces of equipment, you got stuff that doesn't work, you got machinery that you can't use, it's been sitting there like a doorstop over against, particularly when you get into like manufacturing, all that kind of stuff. When people don't have functional working equipment, it makes it really difficult for them to do their job. Yes. So I had a manager tell me one time, hey, if their expectation is that all the equipment will work all the time, we just can't do that. And I said, why not? I mean, think about it. What appliance in your house is it okay if it's not working? If the dishwasher's out, if the hot water's not working, if the stove isn't working, you need all of those. And guess what? When something breaks in our house, we call the plumber. We call somebody to come out and take care of it. It ought to be the same at the company.
What organ in your body could you live without it working?
That's a very good point.
Right?
So if
they
you've
all
got
work together and need to be functioning well, otherwise you have to get, chemotherapy.
Okay, you've gone really dark with this. But if you've got things that are not working in your company, you want to get them fixed, make sure you're providing the right kind of tools, and that those tools are in good working order.
And then maintaining them.
So if you're beached, you need to do what?
You need to
I'm beached. I completely forgot how ridiculous that video was.
Why? Was there our top rated?
It's got Ziggy laughing. Was that our top rated on Beach video? Or
I think the top rated
Beach
one
Roll.
was in color, black and white. I forgot what it's called.
I don't remember, but we haven't done one of those in a long time. We're going to have to resurrect that at some point. Okay.
I
So
think
yes,
we've got enough projects.
broken. You've got so many, things
So
when
much broken equipment,
doesn't
right?
work, when it's
And we have a policy at our company that if you're working with broken equipment, bring it up. Bring it up. Say, hey, this is happening, and I could do 10 times the work if you could get me this equipment.
you're
right?
not helping anybody by working on.
It's like us. When I first started with the company, I was working with my old laptop, and I had to restart that thing 5 times a day. And when we replaced it, right, with the better computer, then my outcome was 5 times as much, right?
Oh, and now, in fairness, I had no idea
Right,
you were
because
sitting
I
there
didn't
watching
bring it
the
up
wheel
because
spin.
That's what
right?
people do. They just don't bring it up. Like, I have a broken computer. Oh, well, I'm just going to wait for it to reset now. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. So there are a ton more beached whale, and basically the way it goes in the book is it's beached, unbeached, beached, unbeached. I never want to bring a problem without bringing a solution.
Yeah, absolutely should never
We
bring
don't.
up problems without
Yeah.
solutions.
So
But
that's
sometimes problems need to be thought about before we can find our own solutions. So make sure that if you've got a problem that's not addressed in the book, that you find your own solution for it.
So think about where you're beached as a company. What are the things that are not working? Where are the places that you're getting stuck? And then think about what can you do to begin to change that? Because listen to me, listen really clearly. Moving forward, businesses that are stuck are not going to survive. It used to be a much shorter learning or longer learning curve, and you could kind of rock along for a number of years and rest on your laurels. Those days are over.
Fast fish kill the slow fish.
Yes, it's not the big fish
There's
that
no
eat the
big fish,
slow
small
fish, or the
no,
small fish.
Your competitor that is a mom and pop tiny little thing could outrun you in the next year.
Yes, absolutely. And businesses
Doesn't matter
every day
how
are
big
getting
you are. You have to be
blown
faster
away.
than the other fish.
Okay, so you ready to Martinize something?
I want to talk about the the beached indicator that I discovered recently.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that, but yes.
It's called the lean in.
No, we're going to do a video on that. That
All
one's
right,
too
fine,
much fun. I want to
fine.
do a video on the lean in.
Fine. And the throw over?
Just give me a quick example of a lean in.
A lean in is when you're sitting in your office and
Yes.
you're you're into what you're doing, you're like concentrating, and then your boss leans in. I want you to imagine him grabbing the door frame, leaning his head into the room and saying, "Hey, blah 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 blah," and he goes,
We need to make sure to show up on work on time.
"Right."
And then
bye."
he's out.
And he's out. Now, you didn't get a chance to take your headphones out. You didn't get a chance to take your eyeballs off screen. All you know is this person leaned in and said something, and you're like, what did he say? Oh, crap.
So one of my absolute favorite videos of you is the lean in. So if you want a copy of that video,
What?
we're going to send it to you when you go on and buy a copy of a book and just, let us know, or you subscribe to the YouTube. My wife is very upset with me right now. It's on Instagram, right? Or somewhere. Maybe it's not. Okay. Email me. I'll send it to you. Don't tell Elise about it. Just email me.
We'll talk
and
about
I'll
this
send you
later.
the best lean in
We'll talk
ever
about this
from when
later.
you were at D Magazine. Okay, you ready to Martinize something?
Oh. Wow.
You ready to Martinize something?
Yes, let's go.
Let's go. You see this? I have a confession to make.
It's a phone.
I don't know why I've got it turned around that way. First of all, it is, you can tell a single person from a either happily married person or somebody that's very confident in the skin by the way they put their phone down on the table, whether it's face down or face up.
See, I never noticed
Have
that
you noticed
before
this?
you mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh, dudes, man. And I used to do the same thing because you never knew when a text was going to come through. That you
No,
were
but
gonna
even
get in
girls,
big
even
trouble
single
for it.
girls, if they're going on like multiple dates,
Yes.
we usually we have a purse, so we keep it in the purse.
Yes.
Just keep it in the purse. You hear it vibrating, you check it only in the bathroom.
Which, by the way, this has nothing to do with the Martinize, but when you have your cell phone on the table, it's been shown that people automatically think you're paying attention to them. It drops by 20% just because the phone's on the table. Okay, that's not my point. I have a confession to make. I'm addicted to this. I'm addicted to this phone. And by being addicted to it, what I mean is I use it on a daily basis. I take it with me everywhere. When it's out of my presence, not. I mean, I can go without my phone for hours, seems like sometimes. But I'm a heavy user of this device right here.
Right.
Stop with the phone shaming about, people are so, when you touch your phone, you get a certain, thing in your endocrine system that releases, and all of a sudden it creates oxytocins.
Adrenaline.
And, adrenaline and all of this stuff. And so
Likes when
we're
you get likes on
addicted.
Facebook.
Okay, so here's my point with that. So we do a lot of phone shaming. You shouldn't have phone, shouldn't have your phone in a meeting. You know who I'm talking about. And I just think it's ridiculous because guess what else I'm addicted to?
What?
Plumbing,
Googling.
electricity,
Right.
vehicular traveling versus trying to walk for
You should have
78
bathrooms
miles.
indoors. You should make them go outside.
I'm addicted to airplanes.
You shouldn't.
I'm
Why do we
addicted
have
to
airplanes? What?
indoor-
You should take a horse and buggy because that's the way people should travel.
Look,
it's all
this is-
natural. It's
this is-
bumpy. It takes a long time, but that's the way it should be done. What are you talking about?
I love when you hijack Martinize. So this is part of the new normal, right? This is just the new normal. It's a device. It's a thing we use. And it, for all of the ways that has made our life more complicated, not as good, it's also improved things. I mean, you can, hey, I don't know the meaning of that word. You can learn from it. I listen to great teaching and training on here. I'm listening to Eckhart Tolle, The New Heaven and the New Earth, for like this 700th time. But it's just part of progress. So
Really is.
that's my Martinized, is quit shaming people.
I used it today. We went to an Italian place. I didn't know the names of any of these Italian dishes, so I Googled them
Look
so I
them
could
up.
see a picture, right?
You did that, and you also had the waiter go through
His descriptions weren't as good as the pictures.
17
kept-
dishes
Kept
and
saying
describe them in
round,
detail.
When you say round pasta, you know how many kinds of round pasta there are? And then he didn't
That's
say
right.
what kind of sauce.
You wanted a picture.
I just wanted him to describe it. Brown pasta with cream sauce, and it has a little bit of sausage. The way he described it was the way someone who's seen it so many times would describe it. You know how you describe something that you've seen 100 times, but you forget how to describe it to someone who's never seen it, right?
I love it. So you Googled it. So
I Googled it.
I'm actually going to lose my old man card, which I don't think anybody can actually take away from me. But because I've said on the show today, stop hating on millennials, and then I said it's okay to be addicted to your cell phone. Now, look, in fairness, some people spend way too much time just on this. Read a book already, okay?
And you can read a book on your phone.
Books. You can read a book on your phone.
You can listen to an audiobook on your phone.
We just need to accept the fact that, just like all those other things I mentioned, we wouldn't rail on somebody for that. Like, oh, yeah, well, you just have to have indoor plumbing. And no, we don't have to. I mean, if you want to check out and, so forth, that's great.
You want to live life in
But for the most
airplane
part,
mode, you totally can.
That's the stuff that we have, and that's what we do. And I think personally, there's a lot of support for saying we're better off for it. So that's it. That's my Martinized.
And that's the end of the show.
And that's the end of the
Don't
show.
forget to subscribe. Check us out online.
Now, hey, whoa.
Send us your comments. What?
Whoa.
What?
We're not here next week.
That's right. We're not.
Because we're doing a conference in Dallas.
Right.
If you're in Dallas,
And
it's
if you're
at,
in cybersecurity,
cybersecurity. Well,
Check it out
actually,
on
they've
our
told me you don't have to be in cybersecurity. It's
wow.
going to be a lot of
So
different
just IT?
content. Not even IT. I mean, they've got people coming
if you're
from
in Dallas and you're attending the
nonprofits.
conference where
Yeah.
Daren's speaking,
Yeah,
you
we'll put a link, and so I'm doing
there's
the
already
keynote.
a link up. You just go to the Daren Martin author speaker page, and it's going to be right there on the page.
Yeah.
You can't miss it.
So
It's right
they're
on top.
expecting 500 people, something crazy like that. So thank you so much for tuning in. A couple of things real quick. If you remember the way that we keep going, the way that we keep the show on the air and do all sorts of other cool stuff is when you invest a little bit, go check out some books, and then speaking. So like I was just talking about, we got a great keynote coming up. We'd love to come speak for your company.
Yep, and if you're local, hit us up.
It's even easier. So that's it.
That's it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. See you next week. We got